What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punteri. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. I come to you live from the 2026 NFL League meetings where we spoke to Mike McCarthy, a little bit of Omar Khan, and got plenty of knowledge on the Pittsburgh Steelers, their quarterback situation, Aaron Rodgers, where they go, and the odds and ends of this team as football begins to ramp back up. I'm in good old Phoenix, Arizona. I hope the Berg is treating you well, my friend. Weather good and it all. How you feeling?
Feeling great. We were talking before we jumped on here. Apparently it's quite warm over in Arizona, but it is that
toasty.
perfect, nice end of March, early April weather over here in Pittsburgh, PA. And I gotta say, I take Pittsburgh over that 95 degrees in March any day of the week. So yeah, I'm feeling good, and I'm excited to dive into, what could have been a boring first day of the owners meetings, but it's turned into a pretty interesting one, as we'll dive into.
I agree. Today was supposed to be a little bit dull. I was just supposed to talk to Mike McCarthy in a local group of media, which you usually get more than what you get during the national media session tomorrow, but you're still not getting a ton. Omar is usually a better one. And then Art Rooney, obviously, who we'll talk to tomorrow afternoon as well, is like, that's the big one. That's what we're here for. That's the person we want to talk to. That turned into a little bit more exciting of a day because Omar spoke to us after Mike. Mike gave us a ton of notes on him and Aaron Rodgers and what is happening. He spoke on the left guard position. He spoke on wide receiver. He spoke on Roman Wilson, tossing a little Roman chat in there, Broderick Jones, so on and so forth. So much coming out of Arizona today. I've got my notebook, which means we'll go through a lot of it. We're going to obviously start with the big conversation that is Aaron Rodgers. Look, at Art Rooney said yesterday that they expect him to give them an answer by the NFL draft. I asked Mike McCarthy today, I said, you keep saying that you guys are having these conversations. What are these conversations? What do they entail? He got very open. We're talking personal life. We're talking where he is. We're talking football from 2010. He's like, yeah, we're bringing up the Seahawks game from 10 years ago. I'm like, what? First off, stop. You got bigger things to do. Second off, it just shows that it's football conversations. That's the exact words he used, were football conversations, which I truly like because I think, in my opinion at least, it puts you in a place where your brain is going towards football, where you are talking and thinking about the game of football and what the Pittsburgh Steelers are and who they are and what's going on and who they've grabbed. And it gets the juices flowing. It's like anything else. If me and you had a conversation about going home and playing Madden, you want to know what I'm going to think about from now until I get home on Thursday morning? Playing Madden. It's not going to leave my head. And I think that helps for sure. His big takeaway, obviously, is that nothing is for certain, that they do not have a hard deadline in this situation, which I thought was, eye-catching for sure. He said that there's not even an uneasiness if he doesn't show up until OTAs. And then obviously they talked about a backup plan and where they go from there, which we'll dive into here afterwards. Your thoughts? I sent you over the audio. You've already listened to it, gone through the whole thing. Mike's words on Aaron Rodgers and where everything is. Art Rooney saying yesterday to Jerry Dulac that he is expecting him to come by the NFL draft. Do you believe it? I tossed it out there in my to-go this morning that I don't believe Omar. I don't believe Mike McCarthy. I truthfully don't believe Aaron Rodgers. But I believe Art Rooney, because if Art's out here saying it, somebody told him. Somebody told Art Rooney enough to make him confident that that's when he's going to get a quarterback decision. What's your thoughts on the last, I'd say, 12 hours that have transpired and all of the Aaron Rodgers talk that has gone on?
Yeah, I think it has confirmed, the goalposts have been moved a little bit from where this off-season conversation began, but
Yes.
it really just kind of confirms what I think you and I have been talking about so much. Like, there is going to be another season of Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, probably Will Howard taking a very close shotgun seat alongside him and learning once again. Maybe a quarterback coming in the 2026 draft. Maybe Mason Rudolph fills out that room. I'm not quite sure, but I mean, everything from what Mike McCarthy said to the local media, which I mean, appreciate you asking the question about what are these conversations. And yeah, I mean, yeah, they threw out the term football guys a lot, and that's great. And maybe that was my only thought on that is like, maybe that's, that's a good way of saying we're talking about a couple of plays. We were back in 2010, wink, wink, but maybe they make a comeback in 2026, and between the conversations, the comments he made to you guys, the comments he made on the Pat McAfee show today, it seems inevitable that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a member of this team, and the NFL draft seems to be, I think we have pitched that as a more realistic deadline before, and after hearing the updates from AR2, hearing from Mike McCarthy, I think it's pretty inevitable, I'll use that word once again, that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. He's going to be the starter, and it's not a question of does he sign tomorrow or by March 1st or whatever those previous false deadlines were. It's just, when is he going to arrive in Pittsburgh ready to work?
That's interesting that you said it's inevitable. That it is. Okay, I'm interested in that thought because okay, I'm interested in that thought. Let me explain to you why I'm not sitting here saying like I don't disagree or I disagree. Mm-hmm. I don't think I do disagree that he is going to end up in Pittsburgh, and I think that all the conversations they're having definitely hint towards that. However, Mike McCarthy talked backup plan about how Will Howard is a guy that he's super interested in. Drafting a quarterback is something that the Steelers will almost certainly do in this draft. There was a part of me sitting here today, and honestly, hearing from Rooney talking to Dulac, that said it is very stressed that it is just an answer and not his return date to come back to the city of Pittsburgh. And again, very strange to me that, or at least there's a part of me that's skeptical that they aren't saying they're confident in his return. They just continue to say they're confident in an answer. Whereas in last year, it was more so, when is Aaron going to decide who he's playing for? And this year it's Aaron going to decide if he's going to play. What also gets me is McCarthy continuously mentions how Aaron is in such a good place. And he spoke to us today about how it's not the same situation as last year, but it is personal reasons why he's taking so long. And maybe that is like McCarthy sitting there saying like, Aaron's in a good spot and maybe he just wants to spend time with his wife or whatever and live out his days as the highest paid football player of all time in retirement at 42 years old. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think when this all is said and done, Aaron Rodgers is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, just the sense of sitting there, there was something about it going like, yeah, chances are Aaron's going to be the guy. But I'm really not 100% sold that they are 100% sold on that just yet. That they're also sitting around saying maybe not. Now, let me ask this. They spoke backup plan. McCarthy obviously gave a glowing recommendation of Will Howard, how he doesn't care that he's a 6th round pick, that's what the old regime did, which I like that. I got a story going out tomorrow morning. The title of it is Mike McCarthy is the best thing to ever happen to Will Howard. And it really is, because Mike Tomlin could care less about Will Howard. He brushed off every single conversation they ever had about the man. But Mike McCarthy's coming in here like it's genuine how interested he is in Will Howard. They also said, Mike said that it's a pretty good bet to say that they're going to draft a quarterback, but they're not going to reach on a quarterback. They're not going to go get somebody crazy. If he doesn't show up by the NFL draft, I think there's a real possibility that the Pittsburgh Steelers do not reach on a QB, but have 2 options afterwards that really add some uncertainty to this situation. And I won't ask you if you disagree with your old sentiment, because that's not what I want to do. What I want to ask is, if he doesn't show up by the draft, and they do draft a quarterback, do you think that that is a turn where the Pittsburgh Steelers start to put into place that it is somebody besides Aaron? It is one of these guys, and they are actually starting to think that.
I think there is. I think what I also, as inevitable as Aaron Rodgers' return feels, what is just as confident, or what comes across very clearly from Mike McCarthy today, and from, I guess, the organization as well, the message they seem to be sending is that if Aaron Rodgers does not return, we are fine. And that might sound very contradictory to, again, they've built this entire offseason has been built around giving Aaron Rodgers pieces, in my opinion, and making sure other positions are taken care of so they could just plug and play a quarterback in, maybe teach someone else along the way. I think that is still generally the goal, but Mike McCarthy is at least making it very clear in his communications that he loves Aaron Rodgers, admires Aaron Rodgers, wants Aaron Rodgers back, but if he chooses not to return or if he delays too much, Mike McCarthy wants to mold a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is still the general long-term goal for his coaching tenure, from what I gather. That happens with or without Aaron Rodgers under center in 2026, and it happens regardless of who is at quarterback in 2026, because that's the whole reason you brought a guy like Mike McCarthy in, is to identify and develop that next franchise guy. Maybe some people think it's Will Howard. Maybe some people think it's someone in this draft or in 27. I'm not sure. But there are a couple of competing truths here coming out of the owners' meeting. Aaron Rodgers is coming back. Mike McCarthy is trying to identify and find the next franchise QB for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are happening simultaneously.
With that, let me ask you a question. Aaron doesn't show up before the draft, which we'll see what happens. Aaron doesn't show up before the draft. Ty Simpson's sitting there at 21. What I've learned out here in a very short amount of time is that it is not, we are drafting this position in the first round. It is, we are drafting the best player at a position of need at each round. That is what they're doing. I've also been told from a source, that trading out at 2026 and into 2027 with these draft picks, probably not going to happen, and it's not the Steelers, it's the rest of the league going, why would we want to do that? Because the draft this year, good. Next year is supposed to be better, and people are excited for it. Ty Simpson's sitting there at 21. The Steelers still don't have a quarterback. Mike McCarthy wants to develop a quarterback. Do you think there's like they just said he hinted at drafting a quarterback. It came out of his mouth. I sat there. It's the biggest note on here, circled and everything. Hints at drafting a quarterback. You think Ty Simpson has a shot here, 21?
It's more than it was last week, Noah. I mean, truly. And I think that the quote that I circled on that, transcribing what you sent from earlier, was all options are on the table. And whether that is just projecting a certain message, maybe that is just the Steelers' smokescreen right now. They're saying we're cool with whatever, and it is just a smokescreen in order to encourage Aaron Rodgers to come back and arrive there. Maybe that is just the honest to God's truth from Mike McCarthy in his general goal as the head coach. So I think there is, call it 5% more likelihood, a 5% increase in Ty Simpson being a player that makes sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because as you just described, if the main sentiment coming out of the owners meeting is that they are going to take the best player available at a position of need. And I wrote about this today as well for the Steelers draft plan. It's quite simple. Draft the best player available at a position of need. Quarterback will remain a position of need until they have clarity regarding Aaron Rodgers, and maybe even despite that. So I think we are looking at a little bit more likelihood, as much as I hate to say it, as much as I'm maybe not a fan of it, that Ty Simpson has a stronger chance of coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I truthfully think that if he does not end up there, I mean, I was told some teams think he's a first round pick. Some teams think he's not a first round pick. But if the Steelers are sitting there and Mike McCarthy wants to develop this quarterback, that I think that's the sentiment that gets lost, is like, I don't think the Steelers' backup plan is just Will Howard. It's
Mm-hmm.
develop Will Howard differently. I think that's what it is. It's if Aaron shows up, the development plan of Will Howard is one thing. If Aaron doesn't show up, the development plan of Will Howard is something else, which does not mean you throw him into the fire. What it means is maybe you develop Will Howard while he's competing with somebody this year and you see who's the best quarterback. Maybe you're developing two quarterbacks at a time. It certainly feels like all options are on the table if the Pittsburgh Steelers do not get a yes from Aaron Rodgers whenever they're supposed to get a yes. And just saying that, like, I'll ask you a hypothetical and maybe a conspiracy theory question, but
Yay.
I think last year, throughout the entire process, we continued to say the Steelers know something. They got to know something that we don't know. They got to know something that we don't know. Do you think that's the case this year? Do you think that they know? Because, again, it's different from last year. It's different from there's a big, giant family matter that I have to attend to. And until that's done, I cannot commit myself to a football team. And if the family matter goes south, I cannot come back to football. This year, it's do I want to play football? Don't want to play football. And I think that's different. I think it changes things. But do you think that the Steelers know anything that they are not that they are not telling us? Like, do you think that they have an idea?
Yes, 100 million %. There was, and the specifics escape me in this exact moment, but there was something in Mike McCarthy's response where he talked about the conversations they were having, and that Aaron was having conversations with the coaches as well. And it wasn't just Mike McCarthy. Like, it wasn't just him saying,
Aaron's on the phone with Tom Arth.
He's having conversations with this, with people on the staff, so he's kind of up to date on what's going on. And listen, I already find it suspect that a head coach and quarterback that's not on his roster speak what he described as weekly, maybe every couple of days, even at one point during his conversation with you guys. I don't talk to that many people, you know what I mean? Like you and you, like that. It feels weird if I'm like, I don't know when Noah's coming back from the owners meeting. Don't you guys talk? Yeah, we talk every day. I don't know any details about his life whatsoever. Like, so clearly that's suspect to me. And then there was that little thing about how he's talking to like other people on the staff. That tells me, they're trying to, again, they might just be talking about those plays from 10 years ago, wink, wink. But like, I think they might, if we see him again in 2026, it would be shocking that these conversations happened now. So I do think they know something, Noah. I really do.
I think so too. What is the holdup then? What are we sitting here waiting about? Why is there no announcement? Okay, let me ask you a second. I'll ask that, and I want to know what you think there, because it blows my mind that we don't have that. If they know something, there is no answer out there. What are we waiting for? But then it goes to like, are the Steelers in on this? Are they having a good time too? Are they playing the game? Are they messing with the fan base as much as Aaron Rodgers is enjoying messing with this fan base? Because that's what it comes down to, right? It comes down to Aaron just having a good time, sitting at home going like, this is beautiful, guys. Did you see that? Did you see that on the McAfee show? Did you see all the comment sections going on there? Like, is Omar just like he's like, yeah, man, this is a good one. I'm glad. Nice. Hey, good thought, Aaron. You killed it. Crushed it on this one. Great practical joke.
Buddy, I being perfectly honest, I don't know, right? Like I don't have an ulterior motive for all of this. I have suspicions about like Aaron Rodgers, and look, like, the personal. I think there is this weird individual road that we navigate with Aaron Rodgers, in that he's the only player in the history of the NFL that has to take this long to decide on things, and the league allows him to do so and rewards him for it. So I think it's not really like some big, I don't think everyone's playing a long con. I think Aaron Rodgers knows he can have conversations with Mike McCarthy every day. He could talk to Tom Arth. He could talk to Brian Angelico. He could talk to everyone on the staff. And he knows he can just have to say like, oh, I'm looking forward to it, but I haven't signed anything yet. Cause it all sounds, it's 98% there, but all it takes is for him to just say, actually decide I don't want to play. And they can't say anything that nothing's official. They can't move forward with anything. I think the way Mike McCarthy spoke today, the way the Steelers have operated the entire offseason has given an air of certainty that Aaron Rodgers is returning. That continues and only elevates as we get closer to the NFL draft. So I just think if it's not like a deal's already signed and we're waiting for it to become public, I think they are just operating as if that's already business done and they're moving on to the next subject. But it all can change in a moment, right? We see that time and time again.
Crazy. I agree. That's wild to me. What's your prediction date? Aaron Rodgers says, "Yeah, you were drinking a Busch Light."
No, it's a Fresco. Soda water.
Like, what? It's a Monday.
It's a Monday. It's 10 a.m. on a Monday.
What's your prediction? What's your date here? Aaron Rodgers gives them an answer.
April 19th.
Okay. What day of the week is April 19th here?
It's a Sunday. It'd be the most inopportune time. It's the Sunday before the first round of the draft.
Yeah, and that would happen at like 10 p.m., dude. It'd be awful. Oh man. Do you want to know what my date is? Do you truthfully?
Please.
I think my date for the Pittsburgh Steelers to get an answer from Aaron Rodgers is, let's take a guess, and this date could be adjustable. Let's take a guess that OTAs is June 1st to June 12th.
Okay.
I think he signs June 12th at 6 p.m. at night.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think I come back from paternity leave first, or Aaron Rodgers signs a deal? What's more likely?
Your son celebrates. Your son. There's a picture on your wife's Instagram of your son in a 1-month-old sweater before Aaron Rodgers signs. That's my prediction. That is my prediction. That is my prediction. A couple odds and ends notes here that I also want to get off my chest. Left guard competition seems pretty solidified. Brock Hoffman versus Spencer Anderson. I feel pretty good about that one. And then the other big one, Mike McCarthy had conversations with Roman Wilson last week. Good conversations about a new chapter. Do you think Roman's getting a second chance here in Pittsburgh?
No, I do not. But I love how optimistic Mike McCarthy is. And it's clear that the team is already buying in, and who's on the team right now is buying into what Mike McCarthy's selling. So that's great. It doesn't matter if I'm buying in, Noah. It does matter if Roman Wilson views that conversation as actually the start of a new chapter, because, I hear if you win a national championship in college, you should be a superstar at the NFL level. And I mean,
Michigan might be the exception. You know what I mean?
No, there's no exceptions ever.
You know what I'm saying?
No exceptions ever.
I hear that. I will say today's conversations certainly pulled me back a little bit on the double dipping at wide receiver.
That feels important.
It does. And I feel like that plus McCarthy's words on Roman put in my head where we sit today, and it'll adjust. This is a thought today. I need time to let it sink. I literally just got back 26 minutes ago. Sat on this thing. I'm sweating my butt off. That the Steelers will draft a wide receiver 3. They don't have that's the other part. I don't think they have a super big rush to go wide receiver in the first round if one of their guys isn't there, which I think that they have, those 3-4 guys are their guys, but I think they'll also look at it and say, if who's the tight end out of Oregon, Sadiq, is sitting there at 21, that they draft him over reaching on a Denzel Boston or something. And I don't think reaching at 21 would be the right word, but they'd draft him if they valued him higher than a Denzel Boston or Mekhi Lemon or whoever.
Right. If you're positioned in need, right? Like wide receiver or tight end, who's a better player between Kenyon Sadiq and Denzel Boston? Yes, my big board. It's Kenyon Sadiq. So
Sadiq.
Just to add on to that for a second.
And if they don't double dip at a wide receiver, I think Roman is wide receiver 4, and which is like, what I mean? Like, okay, whoa, promotion here. All right. Huge bump up the depth chart for Roman Wilson.
Truly, though.
It is, but that's I think all it is. But I do like I took away today as like I don't think they have like this big giant confidence in Roman Wilson, but I wouldn't be surprised if Roman's wide receiver 4, which is again like should be wide receiver 2. That hasn't panned out that way, but I do think that is a guy that I feel a little bit differently today on. He's the only guy that I feel a little bit differently on. Maybe Ty Simpson. Him and Ty Simpson are the 2 names that leaving the last hour and a half of my life, I'm just reflecting going, both of them might be Pittsburgh Steelers, huh? That might be a thing. We'll see. Shout out to Roman.
So crazy.
Could happen though. It could happen.
All right. Roman Wilson.
Good old Roman Wilson. All right. With that said, guys, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering all your questions. Toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
Alrighty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough. If you want to become a Steelers Intel member, I just dropped a video the other day on good old Carnell Tate. Go check it out. You can do so by clicking the link below. Dude, it is warm out here. Let me tell you. I do not know
Still in the 90s?
It's easily... It is currently, went up a degree, 91 degrees here. It was 90 when we started the show. Shout out to Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, it's a good time. We went on a hike yesterday. And I'm a good I like the nature. You know what I'm saying? Saw a couple of lizards, which was cool.
Ooh.
Right? That was pretty nice. And came back down. And I was like, wow, dude, I don't know how people enjoy this place. I truly have no idea. All right. Let's dive into it here. Starting with Chris. Rodgers doesn't make us a Super Bowl team. If we seriously want to get our franchise quarterback next year, then the more we win, the harder that goal becomes. While I don't disagree with this notion, you tell anybody in Pittsburgh, on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster and or coaching staff or front office right now, hey guys, we should just suck for a year. They'll leave. They'll leave. TJ Watt will ask for a trade instantly. DK Metcalf, Zach Frazier, any other important piece that you could come up with follow suit in that request for a trade. You just can't tell these guys that. You can't tell Art Rooney that. And while yes, and I'll also say this, do I think the Steelers win a Super Bowl in 2026? No, I don't. Would it be the craziest thing in the world if somehow the Steelers defense looked really, really good and Aaron Rodgers was a very average quarterback and the Steelers somehow pulled something out and ended up in the play or in the AFC Championship game with a shot at a Super Bowl? No. We've seen that story a million times in the NFL in a million different directions. However, Chris, I don't disagree with you. I do think it's only going to make the process more difficult, but I don't think it's as detrimental to the team as everybody wants to make it seem.
Where things stand right now, this 2027 quarterback class is supposed to be so epically good that maybe you can find that guy at 21, unlike this year, right? Maybe you can afford to be outside of the top 10 and find a player that can be near number 1 immediately or in the long term very quickly. I think there is a lot that's going to change in the next year, obviously. I agree with the first part of this 100%. Rodgers does not make the Steelers a Super Bowl team. Rodgers is the best of the worst, and that is where the Steelers are at, and they've made their bet have to lie in it. That being said, you can go into the 2027 draft and maybe find a guy. I threw out a name like Brandon Sorsby out of Cincinnati as just like one of the names that isn't, Dante Moore, but is probably going to be available in round 1 next year because there's supposed to be 10 guys coming out that are going to be QB1 material.
I agree with that. And Yeah, like I just think I think their options and what they're willing to. That's the other part of this is what they're willing to give up to get up there will be so much easier next year. You know, it'll be so easy to just say like we don't need a second round pick because our team is pretty good right now. You know, we're okay to move up. And I like. I don't think, Chris, I hear what you're saying. I don't think it'll be as killer, you know, and I think that if we win a losing season where the Steelers won 5 games, nobody wants to endure that. I'm out in Arizona, man. Ask me how many Arizona Cardinals fans I've seen. 0. I haven't seen one single hat anywhere. They didn't even sell them at the airport. Like, it's a lonely life.
What do they sell at the airport?
Not hats of the teams here. Not hats of the teams here. They're just
hiking gear.
Hats. The hiking gear, dude. Yeah, hiking gear. Ton of hiking gear. Sunscreen for days. That's what they sell here.
Hey, pasty white boy, slap this on your face.
Maddie, if they don't have an answer, how real is Will? I don't think as real as they are making him out to be. You know, if I had to guess, if Aaron Rodgers was to say no, I think Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but I do think that that's the most realistic outcome is Kirk gets signed to a cheap deal and he's the guy. But I think Will gets an opportunity, you know, to show himself at training camp and like he'd have to really impress. He'd have to impress. I'll say this. Aaron Rodgers shows up, Will does not have any chance to start in 2026, no matter how good he looks at any point during the training camp sessions. Kirk Cousins is here, that's different. Will does have a legitimate shot to say, wow, he does look ridiculous. Let's go. Let's give Will Howard a shot, you know, and you have to look great. You have to look great. You can't look okay. You have to look great. But I think that door does at least open to where Will could impress enough to put himself on the map.
Yes. Yes. I mean, look, what's the right word? This is for Will Howard to take. It's his for the taking.
Yes.
He can certainly play himself into a larger opportunity, a larger role. I agree with what Noah said here. Aaron Rodgers returns. It kind of shuts the door on him being the guy having the pole position, to use a Mike Tomlin phrase, as QB1. But I mean, look, veterans, even guys who were Hall of Famers eventually get outplayed. There's nothing to say that if Will Howard truly is a guy who could be a quarterback one, he couldn't win a quarterback competition in some regard. I do not expect that, anticipate. I'm not predicting that, but I don't know. They seem to continuously give a lot of support to Will Howard. And while I tend to think it is just, you know, good PR and good communications to sound like they are in full support of their second-year player, maybe it is more honest than I am perceiving it to be.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to put it. And the word that I've been given many times throughout this process is like Mike McCarthy's interest is genuine. And I think there are a lot of other people in that room that need to have decisions in that. But Mike McCarthy's interest is genuine. Blessed Light, is Ty a better or worse prospect than Kenny was? Oh, significantly better. Significantly better. Let's agree. And that is no compliment to Ty Simpson. It is exactly what it is at face value. And that was Kenny Pickett's draft class was the worst quarterback draft class I've seen in my entire life. And I mean, shout out to Malik Willis making it work. But that was the worst reach a team has made for a quarterback in 20 years, probably. Am I wrong in saying that? Like the Steelers made the worst quarterback first round decision a team has made in 20, and that includes names like Mitch Trubisky. Like,
you think he's worse than Jamarcus Russell?
Okay, that one's tough though, because I don't think Jamarcus Russell was bad. I think Jamarcus Russell just like he gave up, you know. Jamarcus Russell was like the money, brother, the money, you know.
And I guess statistically, Jamarcus Russell,
and I think Jamarcus Russell was more than 20 years ago, right?
No,
when was Jamarcus Russell drafted?
2007. So we're just on
19 years.
Just under.
Yeah. So the worst quarterback decision in 19 years, and I think I'd feel confident in saying that. Yeah, since the Jamarcus Russell. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy that Jamarcus Russell was 20 years ago. I feel very old right now because I would have told you that was about 10. And I remember that vividly, so I'm kind of hurt by that. Wow.
Yep, me too.
Shit.
But I do think that I think Ty is has a better arm. I think just makeup wise, physique wise, fits the mold of an NFL quarterback. He's accurate. Again, I described him the other day, dude. He's Tua. That's what he is. Ty Simpson's Tua. Super accurate. Doesn't have a ridiculous arm. Works in an NFL style offense. So he's coming in here with a high floor and maybe a low ceiling, and to be the 23rd best starting quarterback in the NFL. You know, Kenny Pickett. But again, like, it's no compliment to Ty Simpson. It's Kenny Pickett, if starting today, would be the 32nd best starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. I'm laughing not because I disagree or I'm like prepping my argument or anything. I'm laughing because it's like such a terrible thing to even discuss. Like, you're like, oh, man, yeah, is Ty Simpson? Yeah, he's a better prospect. He could be the shittiest quarterback, but you compare him to Kenny, who plays quarterback like an 8th grader. Yeah, it'd be great. Like, I'm like, this is terrible. This is an awful decision. I do agree. Ty is a better prospect coming out of college than Kenny was. Yes. And it's not very close.
No, not at all. Not at all. Maddie, so they are going best player available or wide receiver is still top priority. I think it's best player available. I think it's best player available at specific needs. That's kind of the notion that I got from Mike, even talking to Omar. Like, it's the guy that's going to be there that makes this football team better. You know, I think that what I took away from today the most outside of that is that they've talked to a lot of wide receivers, and we need to take that more seriously than we are. You know, we need to stop looking at that like their top interest is wide receiver and start looking at it like their top interest is how good this wide receiver class is, which is a different way to look at it, in my opinion.
Yes, and I think it should put this idea in our minds that maybe the second round is when a wide receiver gets drafted, because maybe they just can't get certain positions that you are available to get at pick 21. You can't get that same quality of player at 53, but you can get a player like I've thrown his name around a ton recently, like Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama is a guy that I've been very fond of as a second round player. If you can get a guy like that who really meets another thing that Mike McCarthy talked about today was having these sort of like undefined wide receivers, right? Like, he doesn't want a guy who's just an X. You know, he was like, I don't want a guy who's just an X, Z, or an F. Like, I want a guy who I can move all around the line and fill different roles, fill different situations accordingly.
Yes.
I think a lot of those types of players are more readily available after round 1, as well as compared to starting level offensive tackles, guys who can be the best player available at maybe defensive line or at safety or something like that. So I think that is where this change is kind of happening here, per Maddie's question, where it's no longer just wide receivers, the best wide receiver available over anything else. It is now totally wide open heading into the draft.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it. Chris, guys, didn't we say we want volunteers, not hostages? Rodgers made us wait last year, and here we are once again waiting on him before we can move on. Why? I don't have a question to that one. You know, I really don't. Or an answer to that one. Like, I have no idea. I don't think, I mean, maybe you do, but I look at it and just say, like, I don't think anybody has an idea. Truthfully, I don't think the Steelers have an idea. I think the Steelers look at it and go, Aaron Rodgers understands the offense. He understands Mike McCarthy's West Coast offense. He was the best passer of a football during his time in Mike McCarthy's offense. And that just makes so much sense in their pursuit of a Super Bowl. And I just think that they don't look any further than that in this entire process. And personally, I don't blame them, because if you did look any further than that, you'd realize how foolish this whole situation is. So I think that their mind stops at all the good things and then just goes, all right, if we go any further down this rabbit hole, we look like idiots, you know?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think I've accepted, it doesn't prohibit me from discussing how much I disagree and my disgust with it, but I have certainly come to the conclusion and accepted that the way the Steelers operate and evaluate things like what makes a Super Bowl winner right now, what pieces get them there in certain ways. Like they don't align with the way a lot of NFL teams see things, let alone their fan base, the
Yes.
people who cover the team. There's certainly a disconnect, and I just accept it. It doesn't make any sense to me, right? Like
Nope.
Cam Hayward said this about Aaron Rodgers last year, a month before he signed. This, you know what I mean? Said the same thing. We want players who want to be here, but they're like, well, he's that good, right? I just, the perspective is different. They don't care that they went 9-8 and they lost in the wild card game. They don't care. They see it as we were so close to winning that game. We just needed to get something else that wasn't a 42-year-old quarterback to get over the hump. And you just have to accept that that is what they are doing. And let's talk about how stupid it is. I'm cool with that, but it doesn't change that the perspective is what it is.
I agree. Schuleberg just got the call. Steelers want me as a quarterback. Chris, brother, hope you're doing good. Just saw Sean McVay a couple minutes ago, actually. He's looking dapper as all hell, as always. I mean, shout out, my man. Shout out. Hope you're doing well, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Good old Chrissy. Michael, best good problem to have. Caleb Johnson shows out with Jalen and Rico, or Roman shows out with no matter who the Steelers select in the draft. This is a really good question. And the answer, I think, is Roman, because you have 2 running backs. You don't need 3. This is, you could have 8 great wide receivers. That's awesome. You have 3 great running backs. Not enough touches to go around. There are plenty of footballs to be thrown in a football game. My answer to this is Roman. I just think that having 4 really good wide receivers is a great thing to have.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I will also throw out there, though, Jaylen Warren is, of the running back and wide receiver positions, Jaylen Warren's the next one up for a new contract, correct? So
no, Rico.
No?
They're both
it's a 1 year. It's a 1 year.
Rico and Jalen's contract both expire in 2 years. This year, and then they have this year and next year. Both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I am wrong in my line of thinking then. I was going to say Caleb Johnson emerging might make some situations and decisions a little bit easier after 2026, but no disagreement from me on your end here. Roman Wilson emerging as just a legitimate threat on the outside or anywhere in this lineup would just be incredible. You can't have enough good wide receivers. The Steelers haven't had more than 2 in like 6 years. So give me 12 this year, if that's what it means.
Was just talking to Grant Cohn a little while ago. Shout out to Grant Cohn. Go check out his YouTube channel. He covers the 49ers. And he gave me, he said, Brandon Ayuk, dude, good thing you didn't trade for him, but he is still a very good wide receiver. And I said, yeah. Well, they haven't gotten any better, so maybe that's still a possibility. Shout out to Brandon Ayuk. I agree with this one. And I don't think it'd be a bad thing if, just like you said, Michael, like just how you worded this, best good problem to have. It's a great problem if Caleb ends up being great. You know what I mean? But if you had to pick between the 2, I would go Roman. Drink Keystone Light. I've been waiting for this all day. Lieutenant Jacob, you ain't got no legs.
I wonder. I do wonder how folks are feeling now that we're just torsoed.
Just
again.
torso,
Yeah.
guys. I will say, shout out to Donnie Drew, who I fell asleep. I was exhausted yesterday, and fell asleep on the couch at like, I don't know, 6 o'clock, something like that. Woke up. I think it was earlier than that. Woke up and he was watching our show, and I was like, man, dude, I don't like looking at my legs like that. I'm not a fan.
Dude, I don't watch.
I don't
like to listen to my voice. I don't like to see myself. I'm so good on all of it.
I live in a house without mirrors. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a vampire, so I can't even see myself in mirrors, which is great.
KGK, who wins the Super Bowl first, Allen or Burrow? Burrow. It's Burrow.
Oh, I think it's Joe. I think it's not Joe Burrow. I was gonna say I think it's Allen.
Yeah, good. Give me a reason. I'll give you my reason after, because it'll take 10 seconds to give you
your
my reason.
reasoning is definitely better because he will win one when he goes to LA. My argument is that Josh Allen just eventually gets one, and I don't know if Joey ever gets one,
I don't know if Josh ever gets one. I hope Josh gets one. I think Josh deserves one. I hate when quarterbacks who are really good don't get one. You know, outside of Lamar Jackson, you leave the AFC North, fine, go do whatever you want. But
yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know, Joe Burrow, when he gets to LA, yeah, Sean McVay is he was just talking about it. He was in there. He was like, yeah, dude, when we trade for Joe Burrow next year, we're going to do this and this. And it's going to be awesome.
Put it out there.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Schulerberg, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, Joe Flacco, quarterback room. It's a possibility.
Well, how much would you give up for Joe right now? The real Joe.
Bag of nickels.
Dude.
Bag of nickels and maybe a dime. Yeah, I would say
when Joe Flacco first started playing, that was the cap limit in the NFL.
It's true.
3 nickels and a dime. Dude. That's all it was. That's how long he's played.
Dude. Aaron Rodgers and 2 rookie quarterbacks is that's prime time for me right here. That's prime time for me right here.
Time. Muted the sneeze.
Yeah, dude. Did you notice how I haven't sneezed since we've gone on to the new setup? Because my body knows, man. My body.
I will say, if any eagle-eyed viewers, I have cleared my throat and coughed about 3 times more than I ever have since we've been sitting together, and I don't know what it is. Because when we were filming together, I don't have the urge to do that.
It's wild. Christian, the Pittsburgh Steelers needed to rebuild this season. Art Romney, no old-timer quarterback. Times change. We are living in an era that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to keep up. Okay, so I'll toss this out there. Christian, I agree with you on you don't need an old quarterback. You know what I mean? My thought around the rest of it is I think the Steelers, roster-wise, on paper, pretty damn good. And they did a pretty damn good job, in my opinion, we still have to see the NFL draft, but putting themselves in a position where whoever that next quarterback is stepping into a situation that is way better than most. I was talking to Donnie Drew yesterday. We were out to dinner talking about the Arizona Cardinals and why Kyler Murray didn't work out. And I mean, they drafted a quarterback and then built a team. No, build a team and then draft a quarterback. Like, that's how it works. And the Steelers have done that. I will give them credit there. Do I think that the Aaron Rodgers decision is the right one? No. And I've made that very known. Outside of the quarterback position, I truly think the Steelers did the rest of it on paper really, really well this offseason. They didn't go after the old dudes anymore. This isn't go sign Darius Slay and plug and play them. This is we went after Brock Hoffman and Jaquan Brisker and even Jamel Dean, who's only 29 years old. And people bring up Michael Pittman Jr. and say like, oh, he's already old. Like, no, he's 28 years old. Like, I get it. Is he past his prime? Yeah, he is. But he's still only 28 years old. Like, he's got 2 good years left in him before there's any real decline there. Rico Dowdle, like, to me, Sebastian Joseph Day, who's still got a couple years in him. Like, to me, they did it the right way this offseason. They haven't done it in years past. They did it the wrong way. I think this year, on paper, they've done it the right way.
Yeah, I think the only real hole in that argument is, the left side of their offensive line, which is, and because look, I agree with you, and I've made this argument for months. Like, you build a winning team from the within the trenches and then out. The one hole right now in that whole approach is you have a huge question mark at left tackle between Broderick Jones's health and Dylan Cook's ability to sustain his performance over a full 17-game season. Yes, you love a guy like Brock Hoffman. You love a guy like Spencer Anderson and what they've done in smaller sample sizes, but you still have this huge question mark there as well about how can they perform over the entire 17-game season. Outside of that, I agree 100%. Secondary's improved. Middle linebacker depth can probably be a little bit improved. Defensive line is better. Wide receiver is better. Running backs improved. You are giving a quarterback options, which is more than they could say for the Darius Slay-led free agency class last year.
Yeah, very true. And I think this goes with it. So I want to highlight it now. Smootest Buddhist, to play devil's advocate, if your roster is built to take a quarterback, why not keep plugging in cheap vets until the right one shows up. I agree with this. Outside of, if you believe in Will Howard, you start Will Howard. I am not somebody who sits here and says Will Howard will be a franchise quarterback, but the Steelers feel that way. And if the Steelers feel that way, then you plug and play. That's my only pushback. I am not advocating to draft quarterback this year. That is not my MO. My MO is, if you really believe in Will Howard, I think you built the rest of it totally fine. Plug in Will Howard. See what happens.
That's totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's not me. It's Mikey McCarthy. That's the guys. That's the guys. LKZ, do we trade PQ at the draft if we get a linebacker early? Man, dude, I'm having such a hard time with this one because nobody in that building is saying anything about trading Patrick Queen. It's the complete opposite. They're all saying that they want Patrick Queen here and that there's no belief that he's going to go anywhere. And then there's just the part of me that says, well, you're not doing that. You're not showing us that. There's no, you know what I mean? Match the words here, pal. So I think this is honestly, of all the questions that everybody has all offseason long, or that I have all offseason long, this is the most difficult one to answer, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's felt so back and forth, right? I've talked about this before and I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the sentiment coming out of the combine was that maybe they'd work out a new contract before the season started. Maybe he was one of those players that was on Omar Khan's list of working out a deal with, in addition to guys that we've mentioned as being sort of slam dunk extension candidates. Now it seems like the trade talks are at least a little bit more on their radar once again. Things fell through with Dallas, of course, or never got very far in the first place is maybe a more accurate way of saying that. I think they are looking at it, and it's still a position that needs to improve. If you can get a little bit of trade value for Patrick Queen, do you take a risk on a younger player and hope that that's an improvement you need? Or do you stick with Patrick Queen, that devil and take another dance? I do not know how to make heads or tails of this at this moment, but I still think there is a chance, maybe even a strong one, that he could be moved at the draft or before that.
Yes, I feel the same way here. Pittsburgh Hornets. AZ mainly reps college sports, Bear Down, Arizona. That is definitely what I heard, because last night I was at a bar and the Arizona State baseball game was on. And people were going nuts. And I was like, did college baseball get you guys riled up? Where am I? What is going on? There's also every team bar here. There's a Bears bar, a Packers bar, a Steelers bar. I haven't seen a zero Cardinals bars. So
is it a Sun Devils bar that you were in?
No.
Wow.
The Burgers bar that made non-milkshake root beer floats, or non-ice cream included root beer floats, and it's tasted like a root beer float, and it was messing me a little bit. You know what I mean?
Wait, what? Say more.
Don't know. I don't have anything to say. I have no idea how it happened, but my buddy said, order one, try it. And I said, all right, I will. And I was like, that's a root beer float, pal.
I'm bewildered.
Same. And it was nuts. It was nuts. Shout out to Arizona though. Good dudes. Good people out here for sure. Chris, guys, draft Vega at 21 or move up to draft a left tackle. I think there's a chance a left tackle is actually there.
I've talked about Utah left tackle Caleb Lomu. More and more mock drafts, more and more analysts are saying this guy's going to fall further and further. And this guy has allowed 3 sacks over his last 2 college seasons. 0 of them happened last year. This is a guy who could arguably challenge Broderick Jones and Dylan Cook for a starting job, week 1. And if not, take it over. He'd be right in the running from the very beginning. So, I think left tackle might be, talk about best player available at a position of need. Left tackle remains that.
Yep. I think they want Broderick to succeed. They want Broderick to be back. That uncertainty, they have to ride the wave of we're not going to sign anybody. But if that opportunity presents itself, if they get to a place where they go through OTAs and minicamp and they realize Broderick's not even close or he still can't lift or whatever, you figure something out. But I think it's early for that. And I agree with you. Like if somebody's there at 21, then it's the conversation. You see this fly, dude? I will catch it and it will
Dude,
die.
I hope you just like snag it, like
I hope so
take
too.
it out.
I hope so too. Ryan, if Will starts, what do you think is our record, ceiling, and floor? I think the ceiling's 9-8. I just think the Steelers are a 9-8 football team. I think the floor is like 5.
He can get low.
Well, no, okay. So here's the thing: it's like if Will starts and stinks, he's not going to start the whole season. They're not just going to sit him there and they're not going to draft Carson Beck and then Will struggles and say, well, we're not ready to put Carson out there. He's 35 years old. We're just going to hold it off. No. So I think if they struggle, 6 wins. I think the floor. Maybe 6 wins. I also think that you could win games just like you're going to beat Cleveland. You're going to beat Cincy once. You're probably going to beat Baltimore once. Like those are 3 wins right there. You play like the Saints. Probably going to win that game. There are games that the Steelers, even with a bad quarterback, could win. So I'd say 6. I would say 6.
For sure.
6 wins.
If Will Howard actually started all 17 games, I think the ceiling would be 8 wins. The floor would be 1 win. Like you're not a very good team if that's your guy for
you're
all
not beating
17
the Browns
games.
Twice.
Dude, it's not. Why would I have any? This is the same conference. Don't make me look like the bad guy again today. That's like
it's the Steelers are not the Arizona Cardinals. Like they're a better team. They're more talent than the Tennessee Titans, even outside of quarterback.
Okay, if I described a second-year quarterback with no NFL experience or starts playing behind a left tackle with 4 career starts, a left guard with 0 career starts at the position, or maybe a guy with
either way.
Spencer Anderson has what? 1.
I guess
Brock Hoffman has
Spencer
like
starts.
7.
Brock Hoffman's got 18
at left guard.
Yeah. He started 7 games last year.
Bet.
Yeah, I mean that's not bad for a 26-year-old. That's not bad for a 26-year-old.
A second-year quarterback with no previous NFL snaps playing behind a relative journeyman left guard with 18 career starts, a left tackle with 4 starts, or a bad left tackle with more starts. Are you confident in that quarterback situation?
No,
absent of it being the Steelers.
Okay, what I'm confident in is that they play the Tennessee Titans. That's a win. What I'm confident in is that they play the Cleveland Browns twice. Dude, there's so many other positions besides quarterback. We can argue about this all
so
day.
Confidently for a team that loses bad games, and they don't even have
Mike
a real quarterback
Tomlin
right now.
Loses bad games.
Cam Ward started more games in the NFL than Will Howard. It's hard for me to think that guy's going to get outdueled by Will Howard in a game.
But there's just so many other positions besides quarterback. I get it's the most important.
True.
But when Cam Ward is sacked 11 times because Alex Highsmith is just having a field day against Dan Moore, like
that's true.
CJ Latham's not even going to know what hit him when TJ Watt's out there and Nick Herbig's right there.
What the hell was that?
I have single-handedly watched TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith win games before. I've actually asked Deshaun Watson, who TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith beat by scoring all the touchdowns. So
that's definitely true. I've also seen that same defense get beat by really bad quarterbacks. Quarterbacks
Definitely
not
agreed.
Much better than Cam Ward. So I'm not you're not wrong. I think the confidence and optimism is totally fair. I don't think it's earned.
Yeah. And now that I'm looking at the schedule, I think 6 is high. But I do think 3 is possible. I do think at bare minimum 3 as a floor.
I think it's a tall order for
Titans are so
any
bad.
young quarterback to come into.
You're beating the Saints. You're beating the Saints. And you're beating the Browns once. The Browns are terrible. The Browns, Shedeur Sanders is legitimately probably not a better quarterback than Will Howard.
But Deshaun Watson said he was going to, quote, massage him into a good quarterback.
Yo. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. How's it going? People
Thanks,
walking
buddy.
by. People walking by. Christian, you guys are going to be in Pittsburgh for the draft. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we'll
We have credentials. I don't know if we're going to go there. Although Omar said today, he was like, I really hope that whoever we draft is at the draft so we could bring them over like immediately. And I was like, yeah, that means I don't have to be there. That would be sick. That'd be sick. As much as I want to check it out, I just like,
dude, it's gonna be
sounds
crazy.
terrifying. Yeah. Like to know that I have to leave there, like if I was just being able to go there, that'd be awesome. But to be like, okay, I have to somehow get from the North Shore to the South Side, like that sounds terrifying. But for anybody going, I'm so excited to see how rocking this city is. Like,
oh, me too. I can't wait to see like an aerial shot of like downtown Pittsburgh and just to see how packed it actually is. That's gonna be crazy. I just don't want to be one of the people.
Wife.
Yeah, I don't want to be your wife in that shot. You know what I mean? I want to be seeing that shot from the comfort of my home.
I agree. Let's keep it. I'm gonna kill this fly, dude. It's gonna happen. It's gonna 100% happen. Corey, what happens if we bring back Rodgers and Will Howard looks really good in Latrobe / preseason? Can you sit Rodgers? You can't.
Yeah, dude. No, I disagree.
You can't. Brother.
It's let the best players play. I'm done.
Stop talking like it's you and start talking like it's a real NFL situation. Because those are two totally different things. Mike McCarthy and Omar Khan would never in a million years bench Aaron Rodgers. It would never happen, dude. He could look like the worst quarterback ever. He's playing all 18 games. It's different.
Oh no, okay, no. He's there's no chance Aaron Rodgers doesn't There's no chance any other player is a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 1 besides Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't matter if Aaron Rodgers takes every snap, turns around, throws the ball the opposite direction, and then lets the other team score. I agree with that. This team goes 0-12 with Aaron Rodgers, and his ankle looks like it's just hanging on by a absolute thread. Yes, I think there's a possibility this team doesn't roll with the 42-year-old the entire season. But look, I said
Mike
the same
McCarthy's
thing about
not there either, though.
Yes, I agree with that for sure. If things go that south that quickly, we're not talking about why they haven't moved on from Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about how all 700 new coaching staff additions have been fired less than 6 months since their hiring. So I agree with that. But I just think that, like, I said this about Caleb Johnson, not in this previous question, but in a previous episode, like, just play whoever plays the best. I don't give a shit if you're 42 and a Hall of Famer. I don't care if you're a 3rd round pick. I don't care if you made a $10 million signing bonus. If you get outplayed, you get outplayed. Like, I don't understand why there's a fly now in my office. This is crazy.
It's gone over here. That's crazy.
If you mastered teleportation during this episode, I'm going to be very mad.
That would be awesome.
I just think there's, I just would love to see less favoritism, I guess, and more just let the play on the field dictate what happens.
I don't disagree with that. However, just to be truthful to Corey, because I think that, I think if we sat here and said, oh yeah, dude, best player always plays, we'd be lying and we put bad expectations into everybody's head, because it's not the case. Aaron could show up to 24 hours before Week 1. Will could look like Joe Montana reincarnated, even though he's not dead. And Aaron Rodgers is starting Week 1 of the NFL season. That's just what would happen. Shout out to Gary, man, becoming our new member. Appreciate you, my guy. Make sure to give it a
reincarnated Joe Montana.
That's what he'd be, dude. That's what he'd be. Although, just chilling somewhere. Maddie, how far do they trade up for Tate? I would say 12 is like when it becomes realistic for Carnell Tate, or Jordan. It would depend on if Jordan Tyson's gone, which I think is I think that's a very real possibility that Jordan Tyson's drafted in the top 10 is the first quarterback off the draft or off the board. I would say 12 is when it becomes realistic. I think if 12 teams pass on Carnell Tate, all 12 of those teams are idiots, because Carnell Tate is a top 10 wide receiver or top 10 pick in this league. Easy. Especially with the draft. This year's draft is not good in the top 10. I would not want a top 10 pick in this year's draft because they're just not the greatest picks. There's nobody that stands out as like, this is ridiculous. Caleb Downs. But Caleb Downs plays safety. It's like the least valuable position on your defense. So to me, if Carnell Tate is there, I'd take him if I'm in the top 10. But if he gets to 12, I think that's when they start making real phone calls.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair just because he is that talented. I would say maybe 15, is about as high as I'd be willing to go.
If he gets to 15, I'd be stunned if the Steelers don't pull off something, stunned. Because
they should.
What are you giving up there? A third to go up to maybe your second next year to go up there? No, right. I go get him. Pittsburgh Hornets here. Noah, who's the best golfer out of you and all the other reporters in Phoenix? Jerry Dulac with ease. Boy golfed twice already out here. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Brings clubs on a flight?
Dude, he does. That
blows my mind.
Everywhere, dude. Everywhere. Jerry Dulac he's the man, dude. He's the absolute man.
What's his handicap?
A great golfer.
Do you know?
No, I should ask him though. I should. He'd probably be like, "What's a handicap?"
If he travels with his golf clubs, he knows how good of a golfer
I meant that
he is.
as in he's just a scratch golfer. Like he's like, oh, you need one of those? We rookies out here or something? Like, yeah. Truthfully, yes.
Just like looks at you, hits a hole in one. He's like, I don't need that.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Okay. Alrighty. Yinsburg Steelers. Noah, we missed you at the Rattlers game / tailgate, but they crushed San Diego 49-27 next time, brother. Appreciate you, my guy. I was checking on the score actually early in the game because I was a little bummed out. I didn't get to make it. So appreciate it. Glad you guys got out there for sure and had a good time. Corey, best chance to win a championship this year is Steelers, Penguins, or the Pirates. The Pirates, dude, they're 0-2. They're off to a rocking start in Pirates.
They're 1-2 now.
1-2. They won yesterday. Shout out. Shout out to the Pirates.
Yesterday.
Shout out to the Pirates. It's realistically the Penguins, which is nuts. But
yeah, and it's I tell you what, man. There's all of a sudden they might not make there's a chance they might not. They gotta win. They gotta win out. They gotta win some games. So that being said, it's still they are in a good position. And how do you bet against Sidney Crosby?
Yeah, I agree. Pittsburgh Hornets, once again, do you think McAfee might have Rodgers and McCarthy on the same time to make the announcement? Yes, maybe. And that would be at least we'd know, be like, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy coming on in an hour. Be like, all right, cool, get it ready. Here's them. Record the video, set up the podcast. We're ready to go. I hope that's what they do, truthfully, because what they're really going to do is wait an hour, wait until I crack my first beer on my birthday to make an announcement for a coach that 24 hours ago I was told was not going to be hired. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm, that's my guy. That's my guy right there for sure. Fixin', how's the Arizona Heat, Noah? Dying over here. Absolutely rocking. Back is soaked. Actually, I only brought sweater polos except for this one. And I'm like, well, tomorrow's going to be rough, pal. Tomorrow's going to be a rough one. But what are you going to do? Tony, where is Noah? Looks like he's outside in a public bathroom at a park. That's kind of how I feel. Especially the dude who came out and did you guys hear him having a phone call?
I just saw someone running behind you about 12 seconds ago.
Missed that one. Some dude came out and literally stood 6 inches to my right and just he made a reservation at some hotel or at some restaurant. And I was like, You're not picking up what I'm putting down here. You're not seeing this. You don't get this one. All right, shout out. To answer your question, Tony, I'm at the 2026 NFL owners meetings. Here at it's the Biltmore, I think.
The Biltmore,
the Biltmore in good old Phoenix, Arizona, which is like a 7-acre lot of buildings. It's wild how big this place is. Wild. Maddie, if Tate is there at 12, do they trade up or stay? I think it depends on price. It definitely depends on price.
Yeah. For sure. But I think I don't know. There's something
so
in the air,
Fernando, that it could or that it won't.
I think there's something in the air that they might trade up, and
I what are we doing here? What am I trying to say here? I think there is something in the air that they might trade up. I think there's so many questions that go into that. Like, who else is on the board?
Mhm.
You know, who they trying to trade with? Who got picked? Like, if Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate are there at 12, they're not trading up. They're
Right.
going to say, okay, we're going to coast this thing out. If no wide receivers are picked, if Carnell's the only wide receiver there, I think maybe that changes things. But I also think that maybe they just go like, all right, like, you know, now his price is a premium. How do we change these things? And I think that's different for sure. Duff, did you guys start at a normal time? Because my YouTube preview said you were starting at 5. My apologies. Duff might have been me, but I thought it also said 0 when we went going. So could have been me. We're in a different time zone. I couldn't
Sorry,
tell you up from down.
Duffster.
Couldn't tell you up from down. Big old nothing burger. How many top 100 picks do we wind up making? Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I think they have 5 right now.
Mhm.
I think it's at minimum of 4, but I would not be surprised at all if it's 5.
Dude, I was gonna say 5. I don't know if it's going to be 21, 53, 76, 85, and 99 respectively. Like that those numbers might change, but I think the Steelers are gonna. I think they really are excited by how many picks they have in the first 3 rounds, and they want to make sure that they come away with 5 players that they can bring in a training camp and compete for jobs. So I think 5 is where I'm sticking.
Yeah, me too. 9 and 8 salad. Oh, and the graphic, dude. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. If Beck is still there at the end of the 3rd, do we take him? I think yes. I think the answer is yes. I wouldn't personally. I think the Steelers are into it. The words I got from somebody on Beck was he's won a lot of games, and whenever somebody says that, you just go, "Oh God, I hate it," but you're gonna draft him. I hate it, but you're gonna draft him.
He won a lot of games. He's played for a decade. Luke Herringody won a lot of games with Notre Dame, and he took him 12 years to graduate. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not longevity. Isn't something to reward at the NCAA level. What are we talking about? You can't be a veteran coming into the NFL. That shit's crazy to me.
Yeah.
He's won a lot of games because he's a man. He's a grown man now. He should be in the NFL now.
Yeah.
Crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree. Marco, man, Kendrick Law's skills remind me a lot of AB. He falls to us in round 4. He just needs to expand his route tree and stop jumping for the ball. Good old Chase Claypool syndrome.
Wow.
I do like Kendrick Law. They brought him in for a pre-draft visit as well. I'm pretty sure one of the few. And I do like Kendrick Law as a 4th round pick. I think he's got a ton of talent. I put him right up there with Hurst as like a guy that like has way more upside than what his draft stock's going to say. Mm-hmm. And I think he's got great. I want to say put up 21 reps at the bench, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's a lofty comparison here from Marco Man, obviously. But I mean, look, this is where you got to take a risk on these guys. If you have 5 draft picks in the first 100, you also have a little bit of freedom in my mind to take a risk to reach on a guy like Kendrick Law in round 4. I'd also love to see. I just want to see if they are going to wait until rounds 3 or 4. There's guys like I've written about like DeJon Stribling out of Ole Miss, like Brennan Thompson out of Mississippi State, like just somebody who is a burner, but also has that potential to be a little bit more with the right development. So we'll see. Lots of guys like that, the Kendrick Laws in this class that stick out in the end of day 2, day 3 range that are exciting.
Slim. Hey, fellas, would you rather double dip at wide receiver or call someone like Denver and see what they want for Mims? I would rather double dip at a wide receiver, and I know that surprised you. I know it got you.
Wow.
Why would you not want to double dip at a wide receiver? They're young.
Compared to Mims, for sure.
I think compared to really most options that would be out there. If you're telling me like, oh, would you rather call and get Justin Jefferson? Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sounds great. But yeah, dude, give me 2 young, exciting guys. See what happens. Who cares?
Yeah. As long as it's like, like a 2 guys taken in those first 5 picks, right? Like if it's like Denzel Boston and then the last guy. You think like in the 4th round?
Yeah, I think you could add the 4th in there.
Okay. Fair enough. Like, so as long as it's not like a guy in round 2 and then like the extra 7th round pick, you're like, okay, like Didn't really double dip there, did we?
Yeah, it's like, all right, took a flyer. Sounds good to me. Sounds
Took
good
a
to
flyer.
me. Cendric, there's a rumor Dallas wants Alex Highsmith and a trade for the Steelers 21 for their 12 and next year's third. What do you think? Oh, that's not the worst trade, honestly. That's not the worst trade.
If you do it for Carnell Tate, maybe. But even still, I'm like, I don't know if I want to give up Highsmith and 21 just to move up 9 picks.
Well, you get, next
Even
year's
with the third coming back next year, like I don't care about that right now.
Yeah.
Not in that specific trade.
Yeah. I think it would
I get
rock
why
the
Dallas.
line. I agree with that. I think it'd walk the line. I wouldn't. I'd have to sit down and think about that. Like I truly would. I don't think it'd be the worst trade. I'd like to negotiate a little bit. Can we get up to
definitely.
a second? If you get up to a second, I'm pulling the trigger. Sounds good to me. But
yeah. Or if I have an extension in place with Nick Herbig already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm about to sign him, then great.
Yes, I agree. I very much so agree. 2 more to finish this one out. Casey, how early do they look at inside linebacker? I think as early as pick 21.
Definitely.
Truly. I think that could be the earliest that they draft one. I expect one to come 4th round as well, just because Harold Perkins could be like that 4th round pick, but I think second, third round is where they're like right there.
Yeah. I've the hopeful part of me is coming around to the idea of like a Kyle Lewis being like that reach pick in the 3rd round, but I he could be a guy that goes earlier because of the athleticism, but I do think as early as day 1 of the draft, it's on their radar. Again, best player available at a position of need. I think that falls under that category.
I agree. And then Gary, let's say Rodgers decides not to come back. What do you think of Will Howard, Joe Milton for a 5th and a day 3 pick in the quarterback room? Shout out to the legend himself. Jer, we got asked, what's your handicap? Yeah. The viewers.
What is that?
Single digits. Absolute. That's the GOAT over there, guys.
That's pretty good. That's a good golfer. That's a good golfer.
That's the GOAT right there, guys. That's the GOAT.
You fly with your golf clubs. You can't be more. You can't be double digits.
You can't, dude. I would imagine that single digits is real close to the.
I was gonna say probably 1. Like 1 or 2. It ain't 9. Guarantee it ain't 9.
No chance. No chance. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
I don't mind this quarterback room. I think the potential is really low in it, but I don't mind. Ceiling's small.
The rebuild's happening, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Fun as hell.
We're having a good time, but they're gonna lose.
You're like, whoa,
games.
Joe Milton threw that ball 87 yards. Was intercepted, but he threw that ball 87 yards.
I agree. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. One more time. Shout out to our members, our subscribers, and the legend himself, Jerry Dulac. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.